Marketing is all about enrollment. When I get pulled into a school meeting as a marketer, the first question I often get asked is, how do we increase enrollment? The question that I push back on is, what are you doing about retention? Most times they look at me dumbfounded and no, these are people that we already have. We're looking to get new people, as if I didn't understand the question. No, I get the question, but here's why I feel retention is the biggest asset that you have and how to utilize it in the correct way. So when we talk about retention, we know that families stay when they're happy, when they're getting what they want. Within our communities, we know that attrition is normal. People move, people graduate out of our programs and go into other programs. And that is an important factor to understand, because we need to understand how the families feel while they're currently enrolled, and will there be any surprises when they transfer over. And so how families feel, most schools will lean into surveys or feedback that they're getting from directly from parents. Mostly, unfortunately, the issues that we get, we rarely get compliments, we get complaints. So are we addressing those complaints? Are those complaints real? Do they reflect the broader student body of our school? And with surveys, the first thing about surveys is, many of us keep them anonymous because it gives the parent the power to share things that they wouldn't. And perhaps, I would try both. Maybe giving parent a space to offer their name so that we can understand where the feedback is coming from. But I think the biggest thing with surveys is understand and check your questions. Many times the questions are created by educators and administrators who understand the landscape of education. And to a parent, it could mean something very, very different. And for example, there was a survey from a school that I was recently reviewing, and the question was, are you satisfied with the academic rigor? Most people responded yes. And so the school used it as a proof point that their academics was strong. And I did push back and said, well, do parents actually understand what the word rigor means in the context of education? Most parents look at rigor as how burdensome the education is, and they actually view it as homework. Is there enough homework that challenges my child? And, when we looked at the data of the survey, we looked at the insights, it was interesting to see that parents that were happy with the rigor also checked they were happy with the amount of homework. The parents that were not happy with the rigor were also not happy with the amount of homework. And so I do think that one important thing to check when we're looking at surveys is the framing of the questions and how a parent could potentially perceive them. But I think the biggest thing with surveys that people overlook is, oh wow, 90% said they're happy. To me, the survey is only as good as the 10% that said they're not. What is the 10% feeling? What are they experiencing? Because, we look at them as the bottom of the barrel, but they might actually be your loudest potential advocates. And so what do I mean with that? Jewish day schools does not fall into the silo of traditional marketing. Most of the marketing, I'd say at least 80% of the marketing, are done by current families that we use the term ambassadors. There are ambassadors to promote our program and to showcase and really be the proof of the strength of our programs. And so when we say, 10% are not happy, where do they fall in the proof? Are they proving that our school is not equipped to deal with certain issues? Are they not forward thinking? How do they present themselves within the community? Do they work for us or against us. Another important thing that we need to look at is our attrition. Jewish families, or really any families, move. They move for jobs, and sometimes they move for educational experience, community experiences. As they grow and learn, they want something different. Or sometimes they just honestly grow out of our program. And a question I once asked the school was, your program is K-8, and so currently your oldest students are in the 6th grade. Where would you say their satisfaction would be when they get to high school? What kind of high schools are they going to? And are you supporting the experience that they're going to meet when they get to that high school? And I think that's something that's often overlooked in schools, is how is the exit surveys taken or seen, or really the parent testimonial for when they meet their new experience that our program was intended to build them towards. And so again, that has to do with retention and focusing on, does our program serve the needs of our families in a way that they need it to serve them? Jewish day schools are community-based programs, and we have an obligation to the community, not to ourselves and not to our conscience, but to the community, to really be open and present to what they need. And so really coming to marketing from the lens of retention and what we're doing to keep the students, to make sure that they're happy and have what they need when they transfer forward, whether it's surveys or word of mouth or the feedback, and even the negative feedback that we're receiving. Those are the telltale signs of how we need to build our organizations. And I think, the negative feedback, it's hard to hear. It's always hard to hear. But I think if we frame it in a window of appreciation, I'm grateful, I'm thankful that you're sharing something with me that I can now make it better for you and for the community that you reflect, because no family in our school is an anomaly. We're all part of one whole. And so where they're coming from, their seat is so valuable because it's not our seat and it's not our perspective. And I think the biggest thing from all of this to remember is marketing is not coming from a place of desperation. It should never come from a place of desperation. It should come from a place of strategic thinking, forward thinking. The priority is always, what are the families that we have within our walls today feeling, and therefore what are they sharing? That's your proof, that's your magic, and that's what makes you who you are.